Hey people, forgive me with YouTube's new monetization guidelines. It's been said that if you swear within the first 30 seconds of your video, you can get it demonetized. Bad luck for me, given that this show starts out with a pretty harsh swear word, so we just gotta kill a little time until we're allowed to say fuck. Heyo people, and welcome to another episode of FIMI, or Fuck, I Missed It. For this episode, we're at quarter 3 of 2019. You basically kind of get the idea of how this runs down. I'm gonna go over a bunch of albums that I didn't get the chance to review timely in the year. We're just gonna go through it in kind of a rapid fire sort of session here. I got 44 albums I need to cover, and a lot of these picks are actually done by the lovelies over at the Rock Critic Discord. I did have a list with several of my own picks that I wanted to do, but I accidentally lost it in the wash. People in the Discord actually pick most of these for me this time out, so we're going in blind with a lot of these albums. Let's see how this one fares, actually. Let's not waste any more time, and let's get Fimian! I'll figure out a word to make this work eventually. Let's do this. Okay, so this one's kind of a weird one. I actually heard about this record after Tegan and Sarah tweeted about it over on Twitter. They're apparently friends with the band, and their album dropped about a week before theirs did. And they were just helping some friends out. I figured I'd check it out of curiosity. An Album of the Year candidate! It's one of those albums that's kind of out of my jurisdiction, but people, if you are even vaguely into electropop, just even vaguely, give this a spin, people. These are them sad girl bops. Them good as hell sad girl bops. I wish I could go into more detail, but we gotta move along. People, just trust me on this one, okay? It's so good. You know, Strung Out are definitely one of those bands that you could accuse of being kind of a one-trick pony. They only do one thing most of the time, but man, their one trick is something I'm just so goddamn into. And this album is a continuation of that. These guys are genuinely good at that sound, and they have a very unique vocalist that I've loved since day one, so even if it's not the most innovative thing out there, guys, this is another really solid one. I bumped my hand on my chair, so that, ow. Could have used some armor and devotion for my knuckles. These jokes are terrible. How do I have subscribers? While I still wouldn't say the new Jesse era of Killswitch is my favorite era of Killswitch by any stretch of the imagination, damn, did Killswitch actually really bring it on this one. This is probably the best album they've put out since Howard Jones left the band several years ago. Like, this thing, it's got a lot of force, it's got a lot of energy, it's very kinetic, it's very pounding. This is one of the most aggro albums they put out in years, and man, again, it's not my favorite Killswitch album, but this was way better than I was expecting. Strong record for a strong year, people. Check it out. Even if you've been sleeping on Killswitch for a while, it's worth peeking into. Okay, this album is good, but it's not good enough, if you kind of catch my drift. People, after the backlash that came with Gossip and how even the fan base just sort of pounced all over that one, Sleeping with Sirens really needed to come back strong and prove to their fans that they hadn't gone away entirely. And while this album, I would say, is better than Gossip, hell, I wasn't even all that down on Gossip back when it came out. I will say this album is better than Gossip, but again, it's not as good as it needs to be. A lot of those fans, I think they lost on the last record. I don't really see a lot of them being won back over by this thing. I don't know, people. It was okay, but Sleeping with Sirens didn't need an okay album. They needed a great one, and it's not great. It feels so weird to say this about a band that's technically been in existence since 1991, but after listening to this record, the number one thing I can say about it is amateurish? Wow, after all this time, Wes just hasn't gotten any better. I think he's gotten actively worse. He still can't write, he still can't sing, he still can't play. His lyrics sound like they were written by a 13-year-old virgin. I'm glad Wes has been able to clean himself up and stay out of trouble, you know, relatively speaking at least. I'm glad the guy's picking up the pieces, but man, I'm here to review the music, and you don't need me to tell you this, but stay the fucking hell out of Galvania. Okay, those of you that like acts like Hot Water Music or Red City Radio, you know, those sort of punk bands that have kind of like a proto-country edge with the way they write melodies and stuff, and vocalists that really have kind of that gravel-throated, sort of rough singing, leather-voiced. Okay, that, off with their heads, right up your alley, dude. Just right up your alley. This was good stuff. I really enjoyed this one. You know, I was a defender of new Pixies for the longest time. I didn't hate the stuff off of Indie Cindy, and for all the self-plagiarization that was on Head Carrier, I didn't think it was abysmal. It had enough good stuff on it to justify its existence. This record, though, I'm just really, really bored, truth be told. I don't know, on the second record, it sounded like new Pixies was starting to run out of ideas. On this, it sounds like they really don't have any left. I think we've heard all we need to hear out of this Pixies resurrection. Did y'all know that Natalie had a baby sister? Did you know that she makes really kick-ass indie rock with a socially conscious edge and really quirky, cute, but thoughtful lyrics? Did you know that she kicks major ass at it too? Well, now you do. So don't sleep on it, seriously. Another big one to pick up for the year. Damn, that Imbruglia family, they have talent. You know, Defy was way, way better than it had any right to be, at least in my opinion. I loved that record from last year. A real dark horse with that one, but that was also due to the band focusing more on melody and hooks and chutzpah, you know? With this record, though, they've kind of gone back to that more metalcore, kind of blah-blah, hard-edged kind of sound that they're more used to doing, and I don't know, guys, like, all of the other stuff I heard before Defy bored me silly, and now that they're back to their old tricks, this album just kind of bores me. I would still say it's better than, like, the other Mice and Men records I've heard outside of Defy. This is still good, at least compared to those standards, but man, I don't care for this band when they're doing that sound, man. Maybe that's just me, but I don't know, man. I didn't get nearly as much out of this as I got out of Defy, people. I kind of forgot this one even came out. This is another one of those bands I'd classify as like a Tony Hawk band. Who else here remembers May 16th? And you know, I'd say Lagwagon were one of the better bands from that particular era, you know? But the problem with Lagwagon is, I mean, if you've heard one Lagwagon album, you've basically heard them all. And this record, kind of like with the Strung Out comparison, there's no exception here. You know, it's another Lagwagon. However you feel about Lagwagon, it's probably going to sway your opinions one way or the other on that. Though I do have to admit, I am not a fan of how raspy Joey Cape's voice has gotten over the years. He sounds really weak. He sounds like your grandma. And you do not want a guy like that covering Journeys faithfully. That's all I'm saying. No, dude. No. So, the guitarist from Kasabian has a new solo project now. Truth be told, it sounds a lot like Kasabian. It sounds like Kasabian if it were fed through one too many synthesizers and a midlife crisis. I'm not all down on it. Kasabian's fine for what they are, I guess, but I'm also not like the biggest Kasabian fan in the world, so, I don't know. Fans of Kasabian definitely need to check this out. I bet you'd get more out of this than I would, but, Do you like Kasabian? You'll probably like this. It's a little different from Kasabian, but I don't know, it's still too Kasabian for me to really just ignore, It's kind of not its own thing. But, for those of you that are into this, give it a spin. Decent as hell black metal. Kind of a sort of black metal classic kind of thing going on here. I mean, this is old school ass black metal, and they really don't do a lot to like reinvent the wheel or anything. You've probably heard a lot of bands that sound like this before if you're into black metal, but like for what it is, it's a damn solid example of it, It's a good genre record. If you're feeling spoopy, check it out. 'Tis the season, man. Go nuts. I did like the new Titus Andronicus record. I liked it more than their last album, I'll definitely say that. Honestly, Titus has been kind of in a place where their albums have been way too long and drawn out, and they've been getting a little too experimental with their last couple of records. It was starting to get a little overwhelming, personally. This album feels a lot more tight, a lot more focused, way less sloppy. Again, it's not the most innovative Titus Andronicus record. It's still a Titus Andronicus record, but that's not a bad thing, and I'm glad to see Titus are, again, tightening up. Does that count as a pun? That's not close enough to be a pun. I'm ashamed of myself. A cover featuring a mangled torso front and center, song titles like Arterial Spray Patterns, Profane Contagion, and Cognitive Sedation Butchery. Yep, I'd say we all know what this is. Ultra cutie J-pop. Nah, though, man, I've heard of Devourment. They're kind of a big name in the BDM scene, and I mean, if you're into brutal death metal, then, well, what you see is what you get with this album. But I will admit, these guys are really good at it, Especially if you're into that, like, slamming kind of brutal death, This is good stuff. I can get down on this. This band is kind of like what you get if you took a symphonic metal band and added just the slightest dash of Black Dahlia murder. It's an interesting sort of clashing of worlds there. And apparently this band draws a lot of their musical inspiration from the Halo games? Is that right? That was something I found in my research. That seemed kind of weird. Though, I guess if you are going to lift anything from those games, the OST is probably the best thing you can take. Not half bad. Oh, King Gizzard, man. Y'all have been bugging me to talk about these guys for a while. Now that they aren't releasing 70 albums a year, okay, sure, what do we got here? This is like if thrash metal had been invented in the early 70s instead of the early 80s. It's got this weird proto-birth of metal sound to it, only it's like way faster and crazier than music of that stripe would have sounded like back in its day. I like it. I like it, you know? It's definitely an original take. It sucks that King Gizzard is one of those bands that changes their shit so drastically with every album they put out, and the fact that they put out like 70 albums a goddamn year. I mean, this sounds really good. It sucks that we'll probably never get another album again from them that sounds like this, but you know, for what it is, okay, I dig. I dig. I know I sound kind of curmudgeonly about it, but I honestly do dig. I dig. A Mongolian rock band that actually utilizes a lot of Mongolian traditional folk elements into their sound. Like, this is a band that plays a lot of like Eastern flutes and jaw harps and a lot of instruments that I would probably do a horrible time at trying to pronounce. Interesting. Very niche. Very, very niche. There is really only a certain kind of person that's probably going to be into this, but, like, if you were one of those people that was really into Heilung when I reviewed them earlier in the year, but you're looking for something a little more Genghis Khan as opposed to Eric the Red, I can recommend this, sure. It's interesting. I will say that. It is very, very interesting. Another decent indie pop record for the year, I'd say. This band kind of reminds me of, like, Blondie crossed with the earlier records from Neon Trees with a dash of the Cardigans kind of thrown in there for good measure. I know I'm probably not selling you on this one. It's not bad. There isn't anything particularly wrong with this record, but guys, it's been a good year for indie pop, at least in my sort of opinion. And there's so many other records that are just so much better than this one. I don't know, in a year this good and a record like this just kind of doesn't stand out. It's fine. It's actually pretty decent, like I said, but you know, if you're into this, definitely check it out, but I don't know. I don't have much more to say about it other than that. It's all right. It's just all right. This record closes with a cover of Celine Dion's My Heart Will Go On. The song opens with a bunch of, like, chiptune shit. The album is just called Extreme Power Metal. They basically named an album after their kinda sorta genre that they belong to. So, in case you were wondering if DragonForce stopped being silly buggers, don't worry, they haven't. I look forward to hearing these songs played awfully live. Deep, growling, and absolutely menacing metalcore from Kublai Khan over here. And they've got a vocalist that just absolutely snarls. This dude is an absolute fucking riot behind the mic. And even though this particular brand of metalcore tends to be fairly knuckleheaded, and this record is no vast exception, the lyrics were a lot better than I've come to expect out of this genre, frankly. Still a bit on, like, the simplistic and sloppy side. You can tell this band still has a lot of growing to do, but, like, I don't know, I didn't hate this. Like, if you catch these guys opening for, like, Vane or, like, Code Orange or something, yeah, man, pick those tickets up. It's not that bad. Mathcore that's practically, like, full metal in moments. There's gotta be a better term for that kind of stuff than just mathcore, right? We can't call everything heavy mathcore. Like, is metal math a thing? I'd call this metal math if I can get away with it. Really heavy, really punishing, very complicated in a, you know, interesting kind of way. They like to shift things up a lot. Lots of nice tempo shifts, lots of dynamic shifts, lots of, you know, good shifty stuff. Okay, wait, how the fuck am I supposed to pronounce that? Kkett? Kkett? Wait, this band has 2 bassists? What the hell? Bill Oddie Bastard Bitch? Death in the Disco Toilets? Rabbit Diet Whore? Okay, y'all is silly buggers. Get that shit out of here. Y'all is silly buggers. I ain't trying to... Wow, and I thought the last band was weird. You know, Wikipedia technically says these guys are mathcore, and while I do believe that, these guys are like advanced differential equations, mega algebra, hypercalculus up your ass mathcore, dude. Like, it's complicated, it's weird, it throws out more tempo shifts than a fat puppy eats kibble. Okay, I'm just gonna throw up a clip of the Bart Simpson squishy meme and throw a number up there. Are y'all okay with that? I hope so, because we're moving on. People, we've had this conversation on this channel before. I just cannot get into Korn. I don't even know exactly what it is. Throughout my entire life, no matter what I've tried, no matter what people have screamed at me, no matter what you scream at me after watching this, I just cannot dig on this band, man. This isn't my thing, people. I'm sorry. I have enough foresight to know that for a Korn record, this is certainly a better Korn record. This is a more elevated Korn record. This is one of the best Korn records we've gotten in a good long while, but it's still a Korn record, and I don't like Korn. So I don't know what you're asking my opinion for on this. It ain't Path of Totality. We can all agree on that, right? That's some common ground. It's not Path of Totality. Bon Iver. Man, this is one of those bands I've been told I need to like, but for one reason or another, I've just never been able to really get into them. They're a band I haven't really kept tabs on over the last few years either. So, I don't know, coming back to them after such a long hiatus for me, it was interesting. They're doing something I wasn't necessarily expecting, this kind of soul-flavored, R&B kind of tinged thing coming together with the chamber folk kind of stuff. It's interesting. I will say it's interesting, but I don't know. This didn't exactly change my mind on them or anything. It was pleasant enough for like the 2 or 3 times I spun it, but after that, yeah, I don't ever see myself coming back to this album willfully. Maybe better experts in Bon Iver can school me on this one here, but for whatever my 2 cents are worth, An Italian prog metal group that kind of leans more towards the Dream Theater, Queensryche kind of side to prog. If that's your thing, there's some interesting stuff on this album. It kind of leans into the cheesier side of that genre. Like, I mean, it's a little cheesy in places, but like, not in an unpleasant way. Like, I don't know, a little bit of cheese here and there is okay. It's not, you know, it's got charm to it. There's stuff about this record I definitely enjoyed. I mean, the album cover has the Cheshire Cat in a goddamn spacesuit. I know my audience is dorky enough to respect that kind of reference. Carnifex is still out there making some damn thrashy as hell deathcore that tends to lean more on the side of death than the side of core. Hell, Carnifex has gone almost black metal in places throughout their career, and on this album I'd say they continue that proud tradition. It's not necessarily an innovative Carnifex record, but I don't know, if you're into Carnifex, they haven't done anything to really fuck up the formula too much, and you know, I've always enjoyed this particularly ultra-heavy style of core, so yeah, I'm down with the new Carnifex. It's alright. You know, for all the great British pop punk we've gotten over the past 5 to 6 years, you know, stuff like Trash Boat, Creeper, Neck Deep, Boston Manor, if they still count. Like, British pop punk has been on a tear here fairly recently, so the new Rome should be, like, right up my alley. But man, I just wasn't feeling this record. Again, not an awful record by any means, but man, it just feels so bog standard. There's like nothing going on this album that I didn't hear better in other records throughout the last 3 to 4 years. Like, nothing against the guys here, but I don't know, I heard better. I just heard better is all I'm saying. Oh, dearie dear. Look, people, I just don't think this band is my cup of tea. There's just nothing that Starset did on this record, or any other record I've heard from them up to this point, that could even vaguely capture my interest. It's not the worst stuff in the world, but I don't know, man. There's just nothing on here that gives me a reason to care. And from all the live footage I've seen of these guys, it sounds like they absolutely eat in a live setting. I mean, if you want some real talk there. But, I don't know. Again, if it's your thing, hey, good on you, but it's so not. I'm just not feeling this, people. Prog metal group from Germany that's really got a heavy gent kind of edge to their sound. They're very thick and dense, but also very lofty and airy and spacey, while remaining experimental and just kooky enough to stay like interesting without being banana bonkers, kind of in that sort of periphery or between the buried and me kind of style. Like, damn interesting stuff going on this record. It's a little too long. There's a little too much of this album to go around, but overall, I'd say a very strong record from a band I wasn't aware of until I listened to them for this FIMI, so good stuff. I will throw out one thing though. Unprocessed is a terrible name for a band. Really? Unprocessed? Y'all decided that was what you were going to call yourselves? You sound like a health food product, not a gent metal band, guys. Like, petty quibble, I know, but unprocessed? I would not mind at all if you guys did a name change. I'm just tossing that out there. This is country? This is country. Y'all are serious about this. This is country? Are you sure this is country? This is country? I'll tell you one thing, people. If more country sounded like this, my ass would be paying way closer attention to it. God damn, y'all weren't kidding about this Sturgill Simpson guy, were you? Fuck. Oh, come the fuck on. Who requested this? If Sturgill Simpson is out of my jurisdiction, you better believe Tori goddamn Kelly is out of my jurisdiction. Come on, people. Come the fuck on. That having been said, Tori Kelly's new album is an absolute delight. She's a powerhouse vocalist and she has a very solid grip on melody. I really did enjoy this record. Oh, what? Just because I'm a rock guy means I'm not allowed to jam out on the adult pop contemporary kind of shenanigans? Homeboy, that sounds more like a you problem than a me problem. Post-punk of that super duper dark variety. These guys worship at the altar of stuff like Joy Division, Bauhaus, and like Sisters of Mercy. Dark wave with a capital dark. I gotta admit, for post-punk of this particular variety, I gotta be in a certain kind of mood to fully enjoy it, but when I am in that mood, I'd say this certainly scratches that particular itch. Yeah, if you spoopy, go get them spoops. Dems is good spoops. You can have them spoops. Go get them good spoops. Okay, this album does have the single stupidest title I've seen in a good long time. I'll give y'all that, but I'm seeing this record pop up on a lot of people's worst of 2019 candidates and whatnot, and y'all, it's not that bad. It's not good, but it's not that fucking bad. I mean, like, it's Sugar Ray, for God's sake. What did you expect? These are the same guys who gave us albums like Lemonade and Brownies and Music for Cougars. It's just shitty yacht rock for people who want to lounge by the pool all day and drink daiquiris and smoke pot. It's dumb, but it's harmless. Who cares? It ain't no thing. Man, Ezra Furman still has that kind of Neil Young sensibility to his lyrics and song crafting that I really enjoy. Only this album was like even more aggro. He's yelping and shouting and straining his voice, pushing it to the absolute limits of what he can take. And man, we get some really goddamn groovy shit on this record. Like, Ezra Furman is like right on the cusp of something brilliant. Like, this guy is about to release probably the best record of his career. If he can keep this momentum going, I could imagine either the next record or the record after that potentially just being a fucking knockout. He's not 100% there yet, but man, I'd be lying if I didn't say I enjoyed a lot about this record. Like, good stuff from Ezra Furman. Don't be sleeping on him. We might be talking more about him in the future. Okay, this band has been absolutely swimming in hype over the last few years. This is my first chance to sit down with a full record of theirs, and I get the hype to an extent. Like, the instrumentation behind this thing is a fucking throwdown, man. These guys know how to deliver a brutal as hell metalcore beat. I appreciate that. Their vocalist, though, he's a little on like the high-pitched side. His voice is like really screechy and kind of on the higher register of things. Pot calling the kettle black maybe there, but like, I have to admit, it took a bit of getting used to. Like, this dude is not like your more typical metalcore vocalists out there. Once I did settle into his particular groove, though, I did get used to it, and I did like what I saw on display here. Good stuff, but I'm just saying there might be a bit of an adjustment period for some of y'all out there. Just throwing that out there. I don't know, again, maybe it's one of those things that just kind of has to grow on you. Holy shit. I didn't even think it was possible for post-rock to get this heavy and still be post-rock. Like, people, you want something that thinks outside of the box, especially as far as like post-rock and those kind of post-punky genres are concerned. Damn. This is something to be paying attention to. Like, this came out in March? How did I miss this? I could have been listening to this for months. Holy shit, this wrecks! I did like this record. Honestly, I really did. I enjoyed this. I think I might have enjoyed their last album more, though. I know that's not like a popular opinion, but this album feels a lot more aggro and in your face, and, you know, this is a much more kind of pounding record from North Lane. And I liked the more atmospheric stuff they were kind of playing around with on the last one, but I don't know. I still like this record. This is obviously a direction these guys can solidly deliver in, so hey, more power to them. Ooh, I liked this, y'all. This is that kind of biting sort of feminist punk that really scratches a particular itch with me. Like, this feels like Latigra mixed with pieces of Wolf Alice and kind of trying to do a more melodious parts of Sonic Youth kind of thing. It's interesting. Fans of stuff like Bad Cop, and Dollskin, this will be something that's right up your alley. I can recommend this one. This was my jam. I was feeling this. I was more than feeling this. Straight edge hardcore that almost leans like full metalcore in places. Like, this was a pretty heavy record. It is straight edge, and it is very straight edge. A little preachy in places, at least for my tastes. I know that's part of what you're there for in the straight edge scene. I get that, but like, I don't know, someone that isn't straight edge, it wasn't the worst thing I've ever heard in that regard. And, you know, if you've got an X on your hand, hey, this will probably be your kind of jam, but just realize that comes with the territory when you listen to, like, straight edge music that's like this crazy straight edge. But for what it is, not a bad little throwdown. This thing, this is a sort of like industrial-ish, proto-new metal wave kinda thing. It's got a lot of like trap snares and a lot of like electronica elements that I don't particularly care for, all mixed with this ultra heavy sort of distorted sound. And all the songs are like named after famous psychos in history. Like, there's a song called Jim Jones. There's a song named after that one guy who killed his parents a few years back. I get what they're going for here, and there is an audience for this kind of music, but wow, I am very much not it. I was not feeling this, like, at all. Even though it's, like, seasonally appropriate for music this crazy. Still no. It's like if the Carpenters had Lana Del Rey as their primary songwriter. Smoky, somber-feeling piano jazz that really does hit a particular chord with me. Again, this is one of those albums that's probably kind of out of my jurisdiction, like that's ever stopped me. But still, though, I could definitely jam on this. It's kind of that dark, sort of electronica vibed pop that I am really, really into. And again, one of those things that might not be for everybody, but if you are even slightly inclined towards this kind of music, yeah, I'd say Way's Blood is where it's at. Absolutely dreamy and blissful ambient piano pop from Roger Sellers' new Bayonne album. Like, man, it's just such a pretty and glistening kind of record. It just absolutely rests on your body like a weighted blanket, this goddamn album. It's so soothing and serene, and again, probably super out of my jurisdiction, but you guys know I'm about this kind of stuff, and man, I loved this record, man. This was a very, very nice, dreamy vibe that I could totally chill out to, you know? Sometimes it's nice to chill, you know? This is a very chill record. If you want to chill, dude. Ironically enough, I actually got the chance to see these guys live last year when they were touring and were opening up for Remo Drive. And also, ironically enough, this album is what I wish the new Remo Drive record sounded like. Like, decent. Fans of stuff like Pup and Jeff Rosenstock and the like, get in here. And that wraps up the FIMI for Q3 of 2019. Thanks again for tuning in, people, and stay tuned for around the end of December. That's when we'll probably publish the last big FIMI, going over the last quarter and the last round of stuff I might have missed throughout the year. Like I say, that'll probably come out around late December. That'll probably be like the last video we put out for the year before the top 10s come out in January. But in the meantime, I'm also working on a lot of other videos. I'm working on my next top 10, which will be the top 10 worst rock hit songs of 1990. Holy shit. Just my initial research on this video has already got me like, god damn. And I'll also be dropping in some quickies and some other videos of the like here and there. People just stay tuned. I will keep you posted on what's coming up. But thank you all again for watching. Thank you for tuning in. Be sure to hit that like, that subscribe, and feel free to comment if you want to. That always helps us out. And again, just thank you for watching, and I will catch you guys in the next video.
Super special thanks to Kyler Aram, Brandon Downfield, and Metal Robot Review.